top of Monday morning to you. Welcome to This Week in Nerd News, where in 5 minutes or less, I'd like to share 5 stories that we in our industry should be paying to at Nerds on Site and everywhere around the world. The first story is about Microsoft investigating potential ties between its partners who were privy to private proof of concept code, how that code looks awfully similar to the real exploits that are being used today to ransom victims that have been running unpatched Exchange servers. And so I will certainly be following this story very closely, because anybody who is already naturally distrusting of some aspects of the security industry, these are the kinds of things that happen that have a chance to build or tear down trust. So hoping to get more details on that very shortly. And there was a big fire in France with a big data center company called OVH. And it turns out that along with that fire and the data center that went down, a lot of nation-state actors also went down with them. So if this week is a little bit less activity, if we see a little bit less activity this week in the cybersecurity industry, perhaps this has some contribution to it. Not that I wish a fire in any data center, but that's a good thing, I suppose, in a terrible story. And one of the things that we are always aware of is that our internet service provider has the capacity to capture and to surveil a certain amount of our browsing habits, especially if we're not securing that channel, if we're not running a VPN, right? And so sure enough, T-Mobile is doing exactly that. But fortunately, there is a way to opt out, either using their systems or by running a VPN on all your T-Mobile or data connections, which you should be doing anyway, as far as we're concerned. And in the UK, this is just not a week of good news. I could not find a single tech good news story this week. But here's one that concerns me, in that there is a legal precedent that has been set already in the UK where this kind of snooping system is possible and may continue. So it's now the case that 2 ISPs are secretly snooping on their behaviors data. And once again, if you are subject to this potential issue, then you might want to run a VPN. Not just to one of those big VPN providers, but your own, where your exit point is at a place that you trust that will not be subject to this kind of surveillance. And last story for today is how GitHub, which is now owned by Microsoft, actually removed the sample exploit code of the Exchange server hack that the researcher had originally posted. This is a really double-edged sword, because security researchers, the defenders, need this in order to find out how to defend against it. But by the same token, the open nature of open source gets used by the bad guys to further weaponize their own attacks. So I can see both sides of this story, but I would definitely lean towards leave it up there now that it's already public knowledge anyway, so that the defenders can do their job better. And finally, did you know that there was a Clubhouse channel that was secretly recorded, and then I think in posterity they did end up getting permission to record this. So the Computer History Museum has nicely published this story, and so it's about an hour and a half of an audio link on YouTube that I recommend you hear. This is not worshiping Steve Jobs, but rather stories being told from a fairly neutral point of view that are very interesting. Enjoy. Have a wonderful week.